2016 was a decade ago. With the rise and fall of SoundCloud, Bape hoodies and Supreme hats, a Zandemic, and the modern Renaissance palette, let's take a look at its cultural impacts, all while I do my modern rendition of the ever iconic 2016 makeup. Now, before I actually get started, there's a couple things I want to premise, okay? Firstly, welcome. Welcome to my channel! I'm finally doing this, and I feel a little awkward, feel a little nervous. I'm having a really hard time not looking at myself in the viewfinder, so please, just bear with me. Second of all, I can't wait for us to be best friends. Truly, you even watching this first video already cements that you kind of have to stay here and be my best friend forever. I think that's what you signed up for in oath, in blood, actually. Thirdly, yes, I am wearing a wig. I actually have a hot pink pixie cut underneath this, which please insert a picture probably right here. And if you put it somewhere else, that's embarrassing. So if you see a little bit of pink hair peeking out, literally don't even mind me, okay? I didn't feel like putting a bald cap on, but just know, I am going for ultimate accuracy, modern day. So, in short, I'm not going to exactly replicate the 2016 makeup. I'm just going to do it as if I was going to do a 2016 makeup look now in 2026. That sounds way more confusing than it is, I promise you. At the end of the day, you're just going to watch me do makeup and talk about 2016. Lastly, thank you for watching. If this is the only one you ever watch, I love that too. Don't even worry. No, it's fine. Don't even worry. To be very candid, I am actually going to be reading some of this off of my notes because I wrote kind of a script for it, or else I would get lost in my own head. So if you see me kind of glancing down, it's either because I'm picking up a makeup product or I'm reading from a general script. And please, don't make fun of me for looking in the viewfinder! Oh my gosh, there goes my YouTube channel already, and I haven't even started it. So to begin, I kind of want to touch on arguably the most influential factor of 2016, which would be the music scene, with the more prominent names of that time being Travis Scott, Playboi Carti, specifically Cash Carti version. Put up a picture. I promise I won't do that the whole time. I just think it's really funny and kind of annoying. And last but not least in this lineup, Lil Uzi Vert. Now, while I know that those names at this point seem very mainstream and more common, back then it was not the case. You had to dig a little bit deeper, especially for people like Carti. The majority of their projects now, while they are in the mainstream, have shifted into different tones, with Carti now taking on the Vamp and Opium moniker that we know, and Travis switching from more melodic styles to having a more diverse catalog. But if we're being real, Uzi is still Uzi, and we love that. I was mostly a fan of Travis and Carti, and if you look at me during that time, we're not gonna do it yet because that's a whole section, but if you look at me, that is extremely evident and very clear and no secret whatsoever. I actually vividly remember staying up until 3 o'clock in the morning, staring out of my bedroom window while listening to Skyfall with Thug, and then also Threats by Denzel Curry. And if you know that song, then you understand just how deep cut some of these artists' history goes within SoundCloud. Truth be told, my actual favorite artists at that time definitely have carried on. For instance, my favorite artists during that time, other than Travis and Carti, include Denzel Curry, which, if you know anything about me, that is my favorite artist, bar none. I will do a video about the time that I was able to perform with him on stage. You know what to do. You know what to do, editor. Roll it. I probably will do a full-length video about that because it was actually the best day of my entire life, and I think nothing can top that. Even my wedding day. I'm so sorry, but it might be true. That was the pinnacle of my wishes. Actually, I literally felt like a wish truly came true. but that's for a whole nother time and a whole different story. So we have Denzel, but we also have Rob Banks, Fonny, Capital Steez, Joey Badass, the whole Pro Era crew, if we really think about it. Then you have Lucky, and to end off the names, I would say Maxo Cream. Put some bass on here. Bass down low. Bass down low. Bass down low. I like my beats fast and my bass down low. I already know that this is actually about to look fucking crazy. Oh. Before... Okay, I know that this looks crazy, but before I keep going, let me walk you through what I just did. Essentially, it's no secret I have no eyebrows, and I haven't had eyebrows for 3 years intentionally, and I do not think I will ever have them ever again. I kind of just love the way that I look like a little alien, but I still want to give the illusion of like the really concealed eyebrows. This looks crazy. I just want to give the illusion of the really concealed eyebrows, and so that's where we're at. And then now I'm going to start the eyeshadow with, but we'll get into her later, and then I'll continue with my thoughts on the music of that time. So with the names that I just previously mentioned, that only takes up a portion of SoundCloud. Whenever people think of SoundCloud, they often sector it into 2 different types of sounds and styles. And I think whenever I think of SoundCloud, even though those are the people that I was listening to, I often think of people like Peep, Early X, Lil Xan, Lil Pump, and Yachty. They all grew to have kind of their own massive fan base, with people like Lil Pump and Yachty arguably having a more ironic fan base, and artists like X and Peep growing in a cult fan base who stuck by them very hard and very seriously for a very, very long time, even after both of their untimely passings. This sound got a lot of flack at the time. A lot of it was attributed to the term mumble rap. And while that might be the case, and there is something to be said about it, I think it definitely made SoundCloud what it is today. And I think it made SoundCloud able to be a more quote-unquote household name within the music streaming services. And I think I know it got SoundCloud's leg up amongst Apple Music and Spotify and whatever else. It is also no secret that an extremely topical factor for 2016 was the fashion. Now, I'm gonna start this section more with like an anecdote-ish, if I may, and that just showcasing how influential the fashion and the icons, like fashion icons of that era was. To preface, in 2016, I was 15 years old. Age exposing. I'm so sorry. Please don't cancel me. So I was 15 at the time, and obviously, as a 15-year-old, I don't have my own source of damn income, and it was the start of a new school year, so I think I was going into freshman year from 8th grade, I want to say. And so my father took me to the Zoomies in the mall, and I just want some like context as to what the Zoomies back then looked like. Let it just flow with the energy. Like, let us just get this image in our mind with some of these photos. Okay, right. And so me and my father go into the Zoomies, and to preface loosely, I was with the same guy for like 3 years, and I use the term loosely, and I mean it. But in order for you to get the picture of what I was working with here, his 2 idols were Tony Montana and A$AP Rocky, so I don't even have to say too much. Actually, that is all the context you need for what I was working with amongst influence here, all right? So we're walking through zoomies, and you know, the music is a little too loud. There's like a little too much stuff on the wall. It's a little too dim in there. And then all of a sudden, ahead of me, I see a gem. It almost like God shone a light upon this item. Because again, it was dark as crap in there, I'm telling you. And it was this Diamond & Co. maroon windbreaker. And if you were the who's who of that time, you know about Diamond & Co., mama. I know that you do. So, since my father took me, there was an agreement that we had set upon. And most lower class families and kids remember this agreement, and that is you got one outfit to start. You got pants, you got a shirt, you got shoes, and who knows, if you were lucky, you maybe even got a jacket. And that was the set agreement. But then I go over to this jacket, and I'm like, oh, I have to have this. And like the brat that I am, I'm begging and pleading, and the jacket cost, you ask? Oh, it was a whopping $85. Okay, and my father, being the reasonable man that he is, was like, I'm not getting you that. That you can't get anything else if you get that. Needless to say, put the damn picture up. To go back into just how important fashion and your outfits and your clothing was at this time, we had high schoolers legitimately just showing up with like that infamous purple camo Bape hoodie. You had the Supreme logo hoodies, also the Supreme boxers with 100% dookie stains, here nor there. And also at one point, unfortunately, clout goggles. That was a very, very dark time. Very dark time. On the girls' end, especially more femme outfits, you had the thigh-high boots, the black thigh-high boots. You had those cropped bomber jackets that are still to this day extremely cute, especially when it's done right and honestly paired in the same way. It is just, it always looks good. The one thing to be said, though, that I feel like a lot of people don't mention when they talk about this style in this at this time was like, it was all so unattainable to the average person. There was so much emphasis on logos and branding, and you had options that were more mild, which was like your Thrasher and what is it, Rip and Dip? That's controversial within itself. But most of the time, the outfits that you were wanting and were inspired by had the most hefty price tag. And like I said before, you had dudes showing up to first period in like Como des Garçons. Please do not come for me on my pronunciation of that. Shoes and then revenge t-shirts, which were unattainable. But at that time, you made it happen. One way or another, you were going to have that Supreme hat. And I mean it. And a lot of that importance came from the fashion icons at that time. And just to name a few, we have obviously A$AP Rocky, we have Young Thug, we have Uzi again, and legitimately, trigger warning, I am not in any way saying that this man was like good or great or even looked good, but you had people like Ian Connor as well, who were at the time influential to some degree within the fashion game of that time. So now on to the fun part. We are going to talk about the makeup looks. They were pivotal. They were pivotal in 2016. They paved the way for a lot of makeup trends now, whether we even know it or not, whether we even attribute it to that style or not. So that's like the entire reason I pulled out this relic. And if you were like a teen girl or even a grown woman in 2016, you know about this relic right here. I even repurchased it because I still feel like the color story is really, really good and it's really cohesive. I feel like I want to break this part down into segments where we'll probably talk about the products that were the most used, the influencers at the time, and then brands. So a lot of the products that I remember being really, really popular, and if you were into makeup in any degree, you kind of had to have this. And those were modern Renaissance palettes, like all of the Naked palettes. You had the Tarte concealer, you had the KVD foundation. I think it was the Lock-It foundation. Oh yeah, the Anastasia Dip Brow. Now, I had my own journey with eyebrows, and it led me down the road to having none. And oddly enough, it was never at the hands of the Anastasia Dip Brow. But that product, it gave a lot of girls brow blindness. But to make everyone feel better, I am going to do something vulnerable here and now, and I am going to show you all what I mean when I say I had eyebrow blindness bad. And the most unfortunate part is that it wasn't even from a dip brow, it was from a thin pencil. I was able to get this from a thin pencil and just a little concealer. Let's really take that in. And if you need a moment to sit with it, and honestly, if you need a moment to, shut your eyes or shun away, please go ahead. I so understand. We also had the Kylie lip kits that quite literally cemented to the crevices of your lips. But there was just something about a matte look at the time. There was no blush, full contour, full highlight, setting spray that didn't add dewiness. You were matte and you were powdered and you were baking. That was the whole point of a 2016 beat. With a dark smoky eye, probably like the one that I'm doing now, that was more red in tones, just to give this whole 2016 IG baddie effect. Those were some of the products. Now let's talk about some names that were the most influential. And I keep using the word influential because I quite literally don't know what other word I could use. So you cannot talk about 2016 without talking about Kylie Jenner, specifically King Kylie, if we will, especially her blue hair era. So you had her, and then you had James Charles, you had Antonio Garza, which again, I apologize for my pronunciation of any of these. You had Nikki Tutorials, you had Jackie Aina, and those are all just to name a few. These people were so quintessential to tutorials, especially on YouTube, that if you just look up 2016 makeup, I guarantee some degree of any of their videos will come up. But don't put money on it because I actually don't know. And I'm sure there are more names that I just am not privy to or I didn't watch or wasn't aware of. So if there are any more, I would actually love to know. And if you want to leave it in the comments, please go ahead. So the it girls of that time truly encompassed the same look and energy, and legitimately just play Black Beatles right now. Tell me you don't get an image in your head, especially of one of these girls, or unfortunately a dude, again, in some skinny jeans and some Vans. I kind of will touch back in on what I'm doing to my face. I've gone in with raw sienna as like a base, and then I went in with red ochre to kind of do my crease. And now to almost finish the outer part of this makeup look, I'm going in with Cypress Umber, which is honestly my favorite brown out of every palette I've ever used in my entire life. It's really easy to blend and easy to work with, and I just like that it's a more neutral dark brown, I should say. Okay, and I'll address the elephant in the room. No, it's not really blended out, but again, I'm going for max accuracy, all right? Do you really think I fully knew how to do my makeup at all during this time? To any degree. I'm a little bit better now, some might say. But again, we're going for it's not because I'm not very good at blending anyways. We're just going for accuracy here, people, and you're welcome. The way that it's really not blended. Ooh. Okay, no one said my first video had to be good. Actually, no one said that. And if you believe that, I really, really need you to reevaluate yourself, and I really need you to give me some grace here. We're gonna put that on the outside. I'm gonna try to make this look less bad somehow, and it's not going to work. And you know, normally, for full transparency, normally I would do a cut crease, but I'm gonna be so real. I cannot do two things at once. I don't know where in my mind I was like, yes, let me do my makeup alongside trying to give a full script and a full rundown of an entire year. That's such a good idea. So truth be told, to be candid here and now, because again, this is my first video, I'm able to do whatever I want. It's free will. I'm going to stop doing my makeup in front of you and I'm going to finish it and then I'm going to come back and we'll get into the end of this video, which truth be told, I really need to lock in for anyways, so please forgive me. I promise next time I might be somewhat a tinge more organized if we're lucky, and I will be right back. Hey, we're on my floor now, and I am actually going to act like I didn't just record this entire section for 25 minutes only for my mic to be crackling. I am gonna pretend like that's the case, so here we are. We're on my floor because my camera also died right after I told you all that I was going to come back. So, with all that being said, also yes, I did not put any makeup on my upper lip because I popped 2 pimples and I'm terrified that the triangle of death is going to happen and I'm going to die from it. What else is there? I finished the makeup look. It's alright, I guess. But we're back and we're here together again, and that's truly all that matters, and we're gonna make the most of it. But yeah, we're on my floor because I'm having to let it charge. So for this last part, I am most likely going to just read from my phone. So if you see that, listen, this end section, I do feel like I have to read a lot from it, like from my outline, because it delves into like the darker side of 2016. But no, seriously, it's a little bit heavier, so I don't want to like say anything wrong, and I also don't want to miss anything. But yeah, that's why if you see me looking down and it sounds like I am reading off a script, it's kind of because I am. Okay, so for this, I am going to get more anecdotal just because a lot of what I'm about to say is from lived experience. It's from what I was exposed to. And let's not beat around the bush. It is about 2016's substance lifestyle that it had, and it was palpable at the time. And so I think like if I was to exclude this part, it would do this a little bit of an injustice just because it was so pivotal for 2016. So it was perpetuated and promoted to a certain degree. As previously stated, I was 14. So a lot of 14 and 15-year-olds, especially at the time, you're not going to know what the hell I'm talking about. You're going to be like, girl, you were doing that? I was playing like Webkins. I was also doing that and doing this. But, a lot of the stuff I was exposed to and participated in, I won't go into full detail because that's a little too much information, at least at this point. I mean, we just met each other. We just met. You have to give me a little bit of a break. Okay. So I also want it to be known that everything I say, I'm saying it from a more seasoned lens, if you can call it that. I'm looking at it from a different perspective. My frontal lobe does not seem like it's fully formed, but it's about to be, okay? Big 25 coming up soon, baby. Okay, let's get back into it. When I say, and I'm also not gonna say, I need to come up with code words, so we're gonna call them rugs. So when I say that the rugs at this time were rationalized and defended to a degree, I really do mean it. And I don't mean just your typical socialized rugs. I mean like the heavier stuff. And I'm gonna call them what they are. And so YouTube, please, mama YouTube, please let me slide. I'm talking about the heavy the heavy ones with high and long-term addiction rates, stuff that has caused untimely passings for many, many people, more than I could ever even begin to name. And I mean stuff like pills and lean. You had your Zans, you had your perks, you had lean, which was crazy. And you had a lot of musicians openly talking about their substances of choice. And even if they weren't glamorized, you couldn't help but idolize it to some degree. Hell, I mean, even the moniker of a Zandemic was not given to 2016 for no reason. I will say this too. This is the anecdote part that I'm talking about, and it's gonna be very lighthearted, obviously, because like I don't want to. Again, we just met, and I'm sure at some point I'll trauma dump. Okay, but for right now, let's just get to know it. Let's just stay playful together. And okay, so when I was 14, I had, and I'm gonna name no one by names. Goodness gracious, I don't want to get found out. I don't want to get sued. Just kidding. But I was sneaking out with the same friend almost every weekend. We had a set scheduled plan. I would come over to her house. We would stay up until her parents went to sleep, and then we would get dressed. And to give you a rundown of how we were looking, I normally put on something like a Thrasher long sleeve and big champion pants. Then at one point, I did have on a bodycon dress. Don't know where that came from. Just had that. It was there. But we would get dressed, and then we would climb out of her window, and then we would walk down to this laundromat that was no less than like a 5-minute walk from her house. We would go into that laundromat, we would stay in the bathroom, take pictures, flash one up on the screen, obviously without her in it. I'm sure she's watching this. Hi Book, love ya. And we would wait for the taxi that the two guys that we were meeting up with, that we messed with at the time, ordered for us in order for them to take us to them. I actually still live near that laundromat, and if you're from here and you know me, ignore that. And if you know what laundromat is specifically ignore that part. But in some like prophetic and karmic turn of events, that laundromat actually burned down. No one has done anything with the plot, and so I pass by there all the time, and my heart like pings a bit. I almost feel sentimental to a degree, because nostalgia is so complex and it's so tricky and sneaky at times. I just can't help but feel that way. And while me and my friend were doing unspeakable things at the time, I still look at this burned down laundromat and can't help but feel some sort of longing and some form of yearning. Drew Monson specific, and I am going to read it here. Drew Monson specifically said in one of his videos, something that I really wanted to include in this because it is so topical for this video. He said, using the analogy of being kidnapped by snarling wolves who somehow let him free, in 9 months' time, their snarls in his nostalgic, warped perception would turn them into a smile. And I do truly believe that is one of the most beautiful sentiments and encompassments of this time for me. It just all felt so different. Even talking about it here and now with you, it feels so different to have been there. And I am able to romanticize it. So with all that in the video to be said, and with all its technical difficulties, and with all its mishaps, if you call it that, and the finished modernized makeup of 2016, it was actually really fun for me to reflect upon this year, especially the trends, in what memories it gave me, and what perspectives it gave me, and stories it gave me. And there's so much more to that year, and I really do wish that I had more of a broader spectrum and outlook on what it gave to society and the culture. But again, I can only speak from what I was tuned into. And there are so many factors to that. I will say that 2016 by far will always be my most romanticized year. 100%. Every day I wake up and I'm like, damn, I wish it was 2016. Like, and that's horrible. But I do want to thank you for watching this video, however this video turns out. And I do want to thank you for watching, especially with everything that happened in it, and the lighting change and the set change. I can't wait to make more for you. And I'm speaking to you, directly you. Look me in my eyes. I'm speaking to you. I just burped a little. I love you. Dada, am I your baby? I can't wait to make more videos for The Void. I can't wait to talk more. Can't wait to share more. And I cannot wait for you to tune into it again, because now we have a blood oath and now you kind of have to. I'm just kidding. Thank you. Okay, love ya. Bye.